Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Crafting a Business podcast. Today I have Scissors Paper Paul, or just Paul. He is a crafter from Melbourne, and I love this podcast because I feel like I get to interview celebrities because people in the crafting world that I have looked up to for a long time, I get to have a chat with, and I really hope that you guys learn as much from them as I do. This podcast was such a great chat. We talked about everything from how Paul started crafting from a little boy playing with, I don't know, cardstock and pipe cleaners and, all that kind of thing, through to how he, started presenting on live TV for a television shopping network on the Cricut. So another great example of taking crafting and forging almost a different path. This chat was so great, and I didn't want to cut out anything. So I'm going to break it up into two parts. So this episode is going to be the first part of the chat, and next week I'll release the second. So I hope you love it. I hope you learn a lot. If you guys like this type of content, please tell me so I know I'm on the right track. You can send me a DM, you can send me a message, spam my socials. I do not mind. I would love to hear from you. So thanks again for listening, and I hope you learn a lot. Thanks. Hi, Paul.
Hey, Deb, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm good as well. Beautiful day in Melbourne. Sun is shining. It's a bit dark in here because I had to shuttle the some blinds because the sun was just beaming in from everywhere. But yeah, it's stunning today.
That's so nice. It's a bit dreary in Sydney, if I'm honest.
I heard that actually. Yeah, I heard you had a dreary weekend.
Yeah, but I actually don't mind it. Like, it's the only difference is the kids go a bit crazy at home. The house is a dump because all the toys are everywhere. But besides that, I don't mind it. Anyway, it is what it is. But welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm excited. This is the first podcast I've ever done, actually. So it'll be fun to hear myself back. Ugh, yuck.
It is a bit awkward, like the first couple of times, and then you just get used to it. Like the more you do, I guess. But I wanted to get you on because there's so many different kinds of people in the crafting world, and everybody kind of follows everybody, but they don't really know like your story, right? And how you started with crafting and all of that. And that's like I'm a bit nosy like that, like I want to know. I want to know all of the little things that kind of got you to here. So
yeah.
Tell me from the beginning, how did you start crafting and how did you find this amazing thing?
Yeah, well, and it is amazing. So let me sort of start from the beginning. I was always one of those kids that would always like, Mum, because Mum stayed at home with us when we were little, and it was, Mum, play school tomorrow. I've got to have like pipe cleaners and a water bottle and a whatever. And she'd always do her best to try and give me stuff so I could kind of follow along and make lots of little crafty projects, I suppose. But interestingly, as I sort of got older, I 100% never saw myself as creative at all. I definitely have a more mathematical mind.
Interesting.
Which I think is why Cricut, without jumping too far ahead, which I think why Cricut resonates with me, because it's, it's software, it's exact measurements, it's all of that sort of stuff, which tick, tick, tick is good for me.
It reminds me, I don't mean to jump in, but part art, part science.
Go for it.
Part art, part science, right? Like, because it's like a healthy mix of both to be able to do this. Anyway, yes.
Oh, absolutely, and that's the part that I really sort of had to learn because at school we had something called technical drawing. It would probably be, I don't know if they do graphic design now, or I don't know what they would call it, but anyway, it was very much like basically drawing with all the tools. Like I thought I was going to be like a draftsman or person or an engineer or something like that. Again, mathematical, but not an architect, because everyone's going, oh, you should be an architect. But I never saw myself as having that artistic flavor. And certainly, if you saw the art that I made back in school, and I'll tell you actually now, I'm having this like whole epiphany because I'm actually working on a few sort of art projects at the moment. I think it was my mathematical side that was probably fighting with the artistic side, because it had to be exact. It had to look like what I was drawing. I had to, whereas I realize now, it doesn't, it's not really just about well, it's about what it represents. It's about, that expression and all that sort of stuff. And it doesn't have to be perfect and so on. It has to be balanced. But balance comes in a lot of ways. Yeah. Balance comes in a lot of ways. You've got, because, with, color and mediums and things like that. But and then I was very lucky. I was very, it was obviously a little gay boy. My family were very encouraging of me sort of expressing any sort of creativity. So I used to go along when I was like 10 years old and attend cake decorating classes with all of these 80-year-old women, and which was really fun. So a woman that my mum worked with would pick me up and drive me over there, and we'd do our thing, and then make a few cakes on the weekend for a few friends and family and stuff like that. And then when I've got a now 13-year-old, and as he was probably about, I don't know, I think he's about 8 or maybe 7 or 8, and I was thinking I need a hobby, and actually started sewing. And again, exact measurements, really spoke to me. The hardest part was choosing fabric, but I'd make pajamas and bedding and quilts and T-shirts and jumpers and bags and all sorts of different things. And then went to the US for my first trip ever not the first trip to the US, but like Disneyland, and had the most amazing holiday. Went through every Joann's I could find, all of these places, Walmart, and bought everything, like sewing wise, right? Come all the way back, and then a month later, my son's having an 8th birthday, which was Harry Potter, and I'm sitting there as I'm cutting out. I think it was 180 printed out wings that I then had cut out with a pair of scissors, and then hot glue onto Ferrero Rochers to make these little golden snitches, which was super cute.
Snitches, yes.
I made a very basic, it was around.
Did you say by hand?
Yes, with scissors, just not not the insides, just around them. But even that, I wanted to, jump off a Quidditch pitch afterwards. I was thinking to myself, there must be an easier way, and I made a pinata, Harry Potter, all of this stuff. I did print then cut, which was I printed out onto cardboard some images that I found on the internet,
literally,
and cut them out with scissors, stuck them in skewers and put them on a cake. And then I started researching, and I found all these machines. So there was Brother Scan and Cut. It actually came down to, for me, Brother Scan and Cut and Cricut. They were the two that I was really drawn to. Because I started to look at, while I was doing this basic card making, like stamps, all that sort of stuff, which have gone by the wayside, had all the metal dies, Sizzix, thingamajiggy. And then of course I'm like, why didn't I buy this all in the US? Because none of it was available in Australia. So I shipped it all over. I got the Export Air, and for anyone listening who complains when new stuff comes out, I bought the new Air, and while it was in the Air, and here's my New Zealand accent now coming out, as it was in the Air 2 was released, and the machine I'd paid a lot for, it was half price. So there you go. I've been stung as well. Happens to all of us. So that arrived.
I felt the pain.
It was a hard pill to swallow initially, but then I thought, what am I going to do? Amazon was meeting me as well.
Literally in the air. Yeah.
It was literally in the air. Anyway, I fell in love. I was completely obsessed with paper. And that's really sort of like my Scissors Paper Paul, because I was a paper crafter. That's what everyone knew me for when I first started in the groups. It was just, I loved all the dimensional cards, and more layers the better. In fact, I was looking for a teal the other day, and I think I've got 8 different teals, but not the teal that I want. That was too green, too blue, too light, too dark, look out for that TikTok, because I was like, and then I've got all the colors anyway, but not the color I need. So that sort of fell into it. And then I joined Cricut for Australians on Facebook. And that's when really strange things started to happen.
Really
do I keep going, or did you want to?
Yeah, no, tell me everything. This is probably when the floodgates opened, right? And it's like a whole new world. So
I don't even think I belonged to any groups at all, actually, before Cricut for Australians. Anyway, it probably just popped up in suggestions or something. And because of course they weren't here, there was no Cricut no staff here No, there's nothing in the stores. I think Craft Online, they do bring, they import some stuff, so they had some stuff, but it's very expensive. And yeah, so I think, I can't remember if it's either 70 or 700 members, right? So that's 70 or 700.
It's like,
Yeah, I just can't remember what it was, because I can't remember if it was like 70 when I joined and maybe 70 when I became a moderator.
okay,
But
I see.
yeah,
But still, in the grand scheme of Facebook groups, that either one, 70
you
or
knew
700
everyone.
is,
You knew everyone.
still a
You knew
small
all
community.
the members, which we kind of still do now. But like, you knew everyone. It's like, oh my god, Deb, how are you? Blah blah blah. How are the kids? How's the dog? You know, what's happening in Newcastle or wherever they lived. And I was, I know that I would have been the most annoying person on there, because and this is what I do with anything, I research. So I was on all the groups now, but I mean, I was sucking in the information like a sponge. I had all the answers, right? So I was answering, I reckon, probably about 90% of people's questions. And it was just became my life, really. And in fact, my now ex, very amicable, he was like, "Can you put your bloody phone down? Like, honestly, every time you sit down, you pick it up." But I just loved it so much. It was just nothing that I'd ever thought I'd be into, that I just completely became obsessed with. And the girls, so Jules started it. She's Canadian, and then she brought Nat on as an admin, and then they were going to, and there's a joke in there, because there's a Canadian, Australian, New Zealander walk into, I know, Spotlight. Anyway, haven't thought of the punchline yet. Maybe one of your listeners has it.
Yeah.
So they got invited to go to the Cricut Mountain Makeathon, which happened only once, unfortunately. But it happened once, and it was in Oregon, Portland, Oregon. So off they went to do that. Portland, yeah. And while they were away, they were like, "Oh, Paul, would you be come on as a moderator? We're going to do this event." And I mean, because to this point, like, it's not like, I mean, I knew them to say hi and stuff, but it wasn't like we were chatting out of the group or friends outside the group. This was, they needed someone and they thought of me. So they contacted me. I'm like, "Yeah, no, that sounds great. Sounds amazing." And I don't know if you've ever been a moderator or an admin in a group. When you first start, like, you're really scared, like, to make decisions or do things or whatever. But let's just say, you're all a pack of beeps. Like, when they went overseas, oh my god, everyone turned toxic, and the girls were like messaging me at weird hours of the night, going, "We're so sorry, I can't believe this is happening." Like, just like, all of the things are like, "Should I delete this person? Do I block this person? Do I just remove this?" Like, check. Like, it just went crazy. So anyway, that was a bit of a crash course, and quickly learned what I needed to do to do that. Then, oh my god, all happened. So we had a person contact us from Australia and say, "Hey, I'm working for Cricut, and just started, and would love to, meet you guys and get to know you." So we got connected to her, and then we had been talking to Spotlight as well. We were connected a little bit to Spotlight in a roundabout way, but through that sort of process, we ended up coming up with this idea of doing our own little Cricut Mountain Makeathon. And in fact, we were going to call it, I think, the Cricut Makeathon Australia, or I don't know what, something along those lines. So we asked Cricut if we could do that, and they said no, which is fine. But we ended up coming up with the Cricut for Australians Craftathon, or the CFA Craftathon, which most of your listeners should know, or if not, they need to start finding out. No spoilers. And
no, they know, because I posted about it, so they know.
Nobody really knows. So, I haven't said anything. But anyway, so we came up with this idea. Anyway, like, then there was a new person. Actually, the person did work out in Cricut, and there was a new person, Alita, who a lot of you probably know. She no longer works for Cricut. She had recently left, but she was amazing. Anyway, we went from we were booking out this tiny little hall in a church hall. It was dark, it was dingy. I'm down in Melbourne, Jules was in Queensland, Nat was in near Ballina, so she could get to Brisbane to go and have a look. we were thinking, you know, at one point, as girls were like, "Oh, should we just buy fabric and make curtains?" I'm like, "Stop!" You know, because originally for the event, we were cutting everything. So it was really you just came along and you just made stuff, right? Anyway, in the end, it just buddy hopped into this beautiful venue in Brisbane. We had originally, I think I don't know, like 70 tickets, I think. Or originally, yeah. Anyway, we went up to almost 100 people. I'm going to get the numbers all wrong now, but anyway. So, and then the new person from Cricut, she came. She hadn't even started, but she came. We did everything, all cutting. Everything was a fabulous day. People paid, but they purely went. It was a donation. It was only, oh God, it was $20 or something, like so cheap. And Cricut supplied us with all the materials and everything. We just had to do the cutting. And that was the first craftathon. It was such an amazing day. We obviously met the members. We made these projects. We got to really showcase really cool stuff. And Ashish, the CEO of Cricut, beamed in like a video live to do an introduction and say hi to everyone, and you know how important it was for Australia. And Cricut was only in spotlight then, and you know they're everywhere now. And next year, oh my God, next year I think we had almost 400 people. We took out the entire, if anyone in Brisbane, it's a beautiful golf course, and I can't think of the name, but beautiful golf course. We had a pop-up shop. We had a pop-up shop in the first one as well. We had a pop-up shop with exclusive discounts. We took out the entire place, the ballroom, all the breakouts.
I think Nat talked about this in her podcast. She talked about, this. I can't remember the name of the golf club either, but it was a great event. Yeah, she remember. I remember saying.
They're going. I think they said, so how many do we do this year? Should we do 1,000? And we're like, maybe 400. I think we had. It was incredible. So people, you know, and I can't remember what the tickets were that year, maybe $40, but they again went to a charity. We did all the cutting. So one of my projects. So we all obviously had our different projects. One of my projects, I cut 100 mats for one of the project to be able to cut enough for 400 people to be able to make these things. Plus we did, like, our theme was events, so we had a table all set up which was like a first birthday. We had a wedding, and I mean I was like cutting out felt and sewing them together and making felt icy pole holders with the little fruits hanging off, and I mean amazing stuff, right? So cool. So Ashish came from the US, flew here. He brought over one of the engineers that worked on the maker. And then there was more staff in Australia, so they came along as well. And then that was followed by a roadshow. I flew around the country with Cricut. We did Sydney, Brisbane, Melbourne, doing these events. When hundreds of people came through, getting crickets and having lunch, and amazing. It was, and give lots of prizes. And I mean, we were like the Oprah at our events, like prizes we always have been. Then COVID happened, so we went online, but that worked really well. We got to have up to almost 1,000 people on the last one, and that was really successful. And obviously, so something we are looking to continue doing. Would love to do it face to face, but online we can reach a lot more people, and also just again, COVID, things like that. But with the craftathon now, when it's online, you get a box, man. Like it's more expensive, but you get a box of full product. So it's not just like a little, pack with your cutouts to be able to do it, and a little bit of transfer tape. You're getting 4 rolls of transfer tape, 4 rolls of vinyl, iron-on, you name it. I mean, Cricut's so generous. Cricut cuties, just amazing. They make all their projects free for us while we're doing for the event. And then now Nat and I do our little boot camps, which have been amazing as well, just like a full day. And it's a boot camp, like I think we did like 12 projects or something in the last boot camp. So that's more intense, because a lot of people attend the craftathon and they're like, it's a bit basic, or I didn't really learn anything, because it's more of a social, fun, get to know you kind of, giveaways and stuff like that kind of day. But yeah, and then one day they said to me, we're the television shopping network, we're on there. Would you, the girl that normally does it for us, she can't actually do the next show, would you be interested? And like, in my heart of hearts, I was like a little boy just going, eee! squealing.
Like squealing, like, ah.
But in my, as in like excitement, but in my heart was like, I think like completely beating outside my chest because I'm like, live, because it is live. I'm thinking, oh my God, live television.
Like, how do you do this? Yeah.
Oh, so, and I went up there and I flew up to Sydney and I did my screen test. And of course, nothing worked. So they had us in this room where they say basically the Wi-Fi is terrible, which it pretty much is there anyway. But nothing worked. But I just kept going, and I thought we'd do a whole show, but we did like 15 minutes, and it was just banter and talk and just see how it went. And they went, "Oh, we love him. Like we just want Paul to do all the shows." So I used to fly up there once a month at least, do a couple of shows. And yeah, the first time I remember I told nobody. Well, you know, nobody I knew, my family. I was so scared because I thought, what if I just absolutely crap my pants live on TV and just like, nah, got to walk off. And anyway, just the lights came on, did a deep breath, and I just went for it, and I loved it. And yeah, from there I started YouTube and things like that. But like my first live show on TVSM, I was there for 2 days, and the first show was going to be was the Air 2 bundle, and then the second show was the Maker bundle. Yes, no, the first show was the Maker bundle. The next one was the Air 2. So I had you go along, you've got everything. After I was being there a few times, I could store things, but initially I'd drag everything that I needed, like ship it. I'd take my baggage and anyway, we're 15 minutes in, and they're like, "Oh, we've sold out of the Maker, so we're going to move on to the next machine." And I've gone, "Huh?" They're like, "Yeah," and I'm like, "I've got nothing here. I've got nothing. I've got all my pre-work because I'd like have it all in the different stages. If something didn't work, I'd already had it weeded, already had it cut, or whatever." And I said, "Okay, we're doing it. We're doing it." So anyway, it just went that fast. We didn't even get, I flushed my way through it.
So what did you end up talking about? Like what you didn't, the machine that you were supposed to be talking about was sold out. Like, yeah, whatever.
They swapped everything around because they had their stuff there ready to go for their bundles. They have it all ready, sort of packaged together. So we undid the package and we just displayed it all. And I just sort of puffed my way as if there's some stuff I could do on it, and others I could just sort of show, as I was talking about the features and benefits and So yeah,
but I mean that's testament to like you as an expert. Like I hate the word expert. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I often say I'm not an expert. I'm a bit of a nerd because, like as you said, I consume everything when I'm interested in it. So when I can talk about it on the fly, okay, sure, I come across as an expert. I'm really like dying inside, right? But
yes, well,
so
exactly, and a lot of it is what I know. So as in, like, this is what I would do. I'm not saying it's the right way. I'm not saying it's the best way, right way. Maybe you've got a better way. But if someone asks me a question and I have the answer or an answer, I'll always give it. I'd never give advice if I wasn't sure. And look, as a group's grown, that's why we have to bring on moderators, because we do sometimes see people, they've got the wrong end of the stick. They think they know the answer, but actually it's wrong. And over the years, I've learned how to actually come over the top of that politely, because it's very busy. Socials, it can be very blunt. I don't mean to come across as rude, but often I'll just go, bam, there's your answer. There's no, hi, how are you, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, you've got to sort of finesse it that way. But yeah, you've just got to go with it, and things go wrong and you make mistakes. And that's the thing. You make mistakes. I make mistakes. I forget to mirror. I obsessed with cards. Love the little box cards, fold flat, fold out. And I give it to my friend. She gives it to her daughter, and she opens it up, and everything was facing sideways, not front face. So, do you see them? Yes, sometimes I do share them, but no, I don't tell you when I forget to mirror. But we all make mistakes. What you've got to do, you got hopefully learn from it. Like, don't make, if you're making that mistake every time.
Then
and this thing, I'll say to people now, do you know what I do? Because I do forget, right? If I'm designing for an iron-on project, I flip the design.
So do I. I flip it
in design space, and I save it. Save it back to front. I have to remember now, if I share in the community, to flip it back again, so people don't, cut it the right way by flipping it.
The right way
by mirroring it. Because I do. I forget that. That's one thing I forget quite frequently, or known to. So that's what I do. It's an iron-on project. You're in reverse, and I don't have to worry about it. So
yeah, like we do this every day, and you kind of like forget these tiny things. Like I'm pretty sure this shirt I've cut, like this is probably the third time I cut it, because it's a layering project, right? And I think I designed this in not in Design Space, in Illustrator, and I'm new to the program in Illustrator, right? So how many times I failed to
Illustrator.
Yeah,
love
but
Illustrator.
I love it, but I'm still learning, right? So, and then when I sent it to cut, it cut wrong, and then I didn't flip it anyway. But it's like, it's every day, right? This is how you learn. So, but a lot of people,
from your eyes, I lose dots all the time.
The dots.
I find them eventually, always. I don't think I've ever had a dot. Then there's a name for those things. I can't remember what it is, but I find it stuck to a shoe or my face, or it'll just pop up. Like one day I'll be like, oh, what's that on the pop line?
See that? That's a piece of vinyl. Piece of HTV that was just on my desk that I just found. So,
and look, I don't sell. So do you think I'm cutting another dot? No, I am not. They can have without it. And even I think I made one for my mum. Mum just had a double mastectomy, and I made a T-shirt in honor of her while she was having her surgery in Brisbane that said, memories are worth more than memories. And one of them's got a dot and one of them doesn't. And it's like, homemade. You can't buy that in a shop, can you? Hopefully.
Exactly. And actually, a lot of people, so this entire podcast is based on people that want to start a business, or see where this crafty thing goes, right? And the perfect, like the one thing that I always hear all the time is like, oh, it's not, like they're scared of posting, or they're scared of making the thing because it's not perfect, or and this is a perfect example of that, right? Like, you've obviously made a success in crafting in a different way that is not the typical, right? So you've obviously done amazing things with your presenting and tutorials and all of this stuff, build your online community, which is a completely different way to the typical make one item, sell it to a local market.
Exactly.
So, and also, like, if you're telling us as this really successful cricketer, this crafting person, that it's okay not to be perfect, then it's okay not to be perfect,
I've got to do a bit of relaunch with my YouTube channel, which I really do. It's just during COVID and everything, and I separated, and life got in the way, but things are back on track now. And there's just something to do and make, and it's just finding time sometimes. But so people that know me well know that I don't make for making's sake. I make for someone or some purpose. Even if for Cricut, if they send me new materials and like, oh, can you make something with this? I'm like, okay, whose birthday's coming up, or who's going to make something for? And there might be, like with all the color changing projects, at the moment I've only used the iron-on, and I love the iron-on, but I've used it on cards, I've used it on bags, but I haven't yet put it on a water bottle or anything, because I don't have a water bottle to make someone. But when that time comes, I'll be like, oh, I'll use that color change or things like that. But also, like, I used to go live every week on my channel, and that's where I tried to be a little bit unique with my channel versus others. I fail all the time, things just didn't always go right, and you'll hear me in my videos going like, oh, once again, I forgot to put butcher paper down for the fusible ink, or what, and then reiterate what its purpose actually is. So I'd say, it's to protect, your heat press or your easy press, and making sure that I haven't got dye leak through and things like that. So I'm always like, you'll hear me all the time in my videos, do as I say, not as I do, because I forget. And it's not that I'm just one of those people that won't follow instructions. I'm very much not that person. I'm like, yes, give me instructions. I forget. I just forget, like everybody else. So you make mistakes. You hopefully learn from them. And when people post in the group as well, I don't share a lot now, because we used to share a lot and didn't want to sort of take over the group. And now that we've got kind of our social stuff, we try to share, we try to motivate more, inspire through those kind of perfect creations and through socials. But ask for help. Like, if you have had a complete and utter disaster, ask why. But when you do ask why, and I posted this a million times as well, I wish you could do more customized stuff in Facebook, but like, what machine, how old's your blade, what mat, what material, what brand, how many, what settings have you tried? Don't just go and about throw it out the window, because I'll be around your house with my washing basket catching that machine, because 99.9% sure it's not the machine. And it's the saying goes, I call it picnic. And this is going to sound really, really horrible, but it's not. Problem in chair, not in computer, right? So more often than not, it's like I'm cutting. I was cutting something the other day, and I just thought, oh, that paper. And this is what you start to know as well. New blade, pop in a new blade, perfect, right? Now, if you're telling me, if your listeners, oh yeah, I've had machine 6 years, I'm still on the first blade. I mean, I know the Cricut ones can be expensive, but if you're changing it once every 6 years, that's what, $12 every 6 years, $2 a year. I mean, change them every few months. I mean, if you're using it all the time, it's not a lot of money in the grand scheme of things, and you'll be amazed. So I'm always like, change your blade, and then I find I never hear from those people again. It's normally what fixes it. But yeah, like, is it the wrong mat? Is what? But ask. That's what the group is for. Ask.
But exactly as well. And it's about like if you don't know the answer, then somebody else will, and learning from the experiences of others, right?
Hey guys, I hope you learned a lot from that. As mentioned, this is the first half of my chat with Scissors Paper Paul. The second half will be released next week. So if there's anything in this podcast that you have questions about, please do let us know. You can find Paul on Instagram at ScissorsPaperPaul or on Facebook as well. And you can find me at Only the Sweet Stuff on all channels. I appreciate you. Thanks so much for listening. Bye.